Welcome to Reality Transurfing, navigating the multivariant world. Today, we're exploring how reality might be far more malleable than we typically assume, and how our perception and attention may literally shape the world we experience. Vadim Zeland's transurfing philosophy suggests a radical possibility that our consciousness navigates through infinite potential realities, and where we place our attention determines which one we experience. Let's dive in. At the heart of transurfing lies the concept of a space of variations, a field of infinite potential realities existing simultaneously. It's a provocative metaphysical idea, but interestingly, modern neuroscience offers some parallel insights. According to predictive processing theory, your brain doesn't passively record reality, it actively constructs it. Your brain continuously generates predictions about what you'll experience based on prior knowledge and current input. This construction process is heavily influenced by what you focus on. In essence, your attention acts as a selection mechanism, highlighting certain aspects of reality while filtering out others. The fascinating work of neuroscientists shows that attention literally reshapes neural activity patterns, strengthening some connections while weakening others. Consider Tversky and Kahneman's groundbreaking research on framing effects from 1981. They demonstrated that simply changing how a problem is framed dramatically alters the decisions people make, even when the underlying facts remain identical. This isn't just psychological curiosity. It's evidence that perception literally creates different experienced realities from the same objective situation. Your focus doesn't just interpret reality, it creates it. Let's consider a real-world example that illustrates this principle in action. In 2022, Sophia's startup faced imminent failure. Financial instability loomed, and investors were pulling out one by one. The conventional reality appeared fixed. Her company was failing, with all metrics pointing toward inevitable collapse. But Sophia made a conscious decision to detach from what Zeland calls the pendulum of entrepreneurial anxiety, that collective energy field of startup panic that can consume founders. Instead, she began deliberately shifting her attention to potential positive outcomes, considering angles she hadn't explored. She wasn't denying reality, she was choosing which aspects of reality to focus on. Within months, something remarkable happened. She began seeing opportunities that had been invisible to her before, potential partnerships, pivots, and untapped markets. She attracted new investors she hadn't even considered approaching, ultimately revitalizing her business. From a transurfing perspective, she hadn't just changed her strategy, she'd literally shifted to a different reality track where success was possible, simply by redirecting her conscious attention. Transurfing asks us to consider that our lives unfold not as a single predetermined path, but as movement along various potential lifelines. Imagine reality as a bundle of parallel timelines extending from the present moment, each representing different possible futures. Your attention and focus essentially determine which of these potential realities becomes your actual experience. This metaphysical concept finds surprising resonance in neuroplasticity research. As documented extensively by Dr. Norman Doidge in his 2007 work, the brain physically rewires itself based on repeated attention and experience. Neural pathways that receive focus strengthen, those ignored weaken and eventually dissolve. Your habitual focus literally creates physical changes in brain structure that then filter future perceptions. This means that where you place your attention doesn't just influence your momentary experience, it literally shapes the physical structure through which you'll perceive all future experiences. When Zeland talks about choosing different lifelines, he's describing a process that has measurable neurological correlates. Your attention isn't just selecting from reality, it's creating the very infrastructure through which reality will be experienced. Let's make this concrete with a scenario many can relate to. Imagine a student who feels trapped in academic failure. Every morning he wakes up dreading classes, his attention fixed on past poor performances. From a transurfing perspective, his consciousness is locked into a particular lifeline, one where academic struggle feels inevitable and permanent. Now imagine this student applying transurfing principles. He begins deliberately shifting his attention to a different potential lifeline where academic success is possible. This isn't just positive thinking, it's a strategic redistribution of conscious focus. He visualizes himself understanding concepts, redirects attention from past failures to small daily improvements, and gradually tunes in to a reality where academic achievement feels natural. The fascinating part is that this isn't just psychological comfort, it produces measurable changes in performance. Studies on academic mindsets demonstrate that students who believe intelligence is malleable rather than fixed achieve significantly better outcomes, even when controlling for initial ability. By shifting his perception of what's possible, the student isn't just feeling better, he's literally altering the reality he experiences. Let's examine the science behind this reality selection process. Research on effective realism by Lisa Feldman Barrett and her team revealed something extraordinary. Emotions don't just color our interpretations of reality, they literally determine what we perceive. In their 2018 studies, participants' emotional states influenced their perception of neutral facial expressions, with anxious participants literally seeing threat in neutral faces. This means that your emotional state isn't just coloring your world, it's creating the very world you perceive as out there. What we experience as objective reality is actually being constructed through complex filters of expectation, attention, and emotion. This isn't metaphysical speculation. It's empirically verified cognitive science showing that perception is an active creation process. The placebo effect offers another striking example of mind influencing supposedly objective physical reality. When patients believe they're receiving effective treatment, their bodies often respond as if they were, producing real physiological changes including pain reduction, immune system modulation, and even structural changes in brain tissue. This isn't just psychological comfort. It's consciousness literally reshaping physical reality through attention and expectation. Most of this reality-creating process happens below conscious awareness. John Bargh's influential research on automaticity revealed the extent to which unconscious processes guide our behavior and perception. His studies demonstrated that environmental cues can prime specific behaviors and perceptions without our awareness, essentially creating our experienced reality before consciousness even enters the picture. This explains why transurfing emphasizes the importance of examining and redirecting our unconscious patterns. The reality we experience is largely determined by automatic perceptual filters operating below the threshold of awareness. By bringing these processes into consciousness, we gain the ability to redirect them toward more desired outcomes. The implications are profound. If much of our reality is constructed through unconscious filtering processes, then becoming aware of these filters gives us unprecedented agency in selecting which potential reality we experience. This isn't about denying objective facts. It's about recognizing that what we experience as facts are themselves products of selective attention and interpretation. So how do we begin consciously selecting our reality? The first step is developing awareness of where your attention habitually goes. Notice the stories you tell yourself about what's possible or impossible. Pay attention to which aspects of situations you automatically focus on. These habitual attention patterns are literally creating the reality track you experience. The second step is practicing deliberate shifts in attention. This isn't about denial or fantasy. It's about consciously choosing which aspects of the multivariant reality to emphasize. When facing challenges, intentionally seek alternative perspectives. Ask yourself, what would I notice if success were inevitable? What possibilities might exist that my current perceptual filters are missing? Finally, maintain an experimental mindset. Transurfing isn't asking for blind faith, it's inviting empirical testing. Try shifting your attentional focus in small, low-stakes situations and observe the results. Notice how different focal points create different emotional states, which then influence your behavior and the responses you elicit from others, ultimately creating different experienced realities. Some proponents draw parallels between transurfing and quantum physics concepts like the observer effect, where the act of measurement affects what's being measured. While intriguing, we should approach such comparisons cautiously. The quantum effects observed at subatomic levels don't necessarily translate directly to macroscopic human experience in the way sometimes suggested. That said, quantum physics does reveal a reality fundamentally different from our common sense perceptions. It shows us a world of probabilities rather than certainties, where potentiality may be as fundamental as actuality. This scientific revolution reminds us that our intuitive understanding of reality has limitations, making transurfing's multivariant model worth exploring, even if skeptically. The value in transurfing may not lie in whether it perfectly describes objective reality, but in whether adopting its perspective creates more effective ways of navigating life. From pragmatism to constructivism, many philosophical traditions suggest that useful models that expand agency are valuable regardless of their metaphysical status. Perhaps transurfing's multivariant model is best seen as a practical tool rather than literal description. Let's summarize what we've explored. First, your brain doesn't passively record reality. It actively constructs it through predictive processes heavily influenced by attention and expectation. This construction happens largely outside conscious awareness, creating the illusion that we're perceiving objective reality rather than participating in its creation. Second, research on framing effects, affective realism, and neuroplasticity suggests that shifting attention literally creates different experienced realities from the same objective situation. Where you place your focus doesn't just interpret reality. It helps create it by strengthening specific neural networks while weakening others. Finally, transurfing offers a framework for consciously participating in reality selection rather than passively experiencing it. By becoming aware of automatic perceptual filters and deliberately redirecting attention toward desired outcomes, we can navigate toward more fulfilling potential lifelines. Whether you view transurfing as literal metaphysics or useful metaphor, its practical applications offer expanded agency in creating your experienced reality. In our next episode, we'll explore how emotions serve as powerful magnets, attracting experiences that match our inner feeling states. We'll examine the research on positive psychology and emotional contagion while discovering practical techniques for aligning emotional states with desired outcomes. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of reality's multivariant nature. Until next time, pay attention to your attention. It might be creating more than you realize.